friends, welcome back to our channel where we discuss many topics of interest, controversial, not controversial, funny, hot, cold, in between. It's 2021.
We promised to talk about the education system in this country and the challenges and the difficulties and a lot of special interests and ideology that's inflicted upon the education system in this country. So
and indoctrination and not really focusing on what education is supposed to be, and they bring in some, not. They bring in like
you're not saying necessarily what it should be.
The curriculum, the unnecessary curriculum into the school system. But before we start, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, get the word out. We try to bring as much content as we can in different areas. We are both immigrants from Iran, and we bring our own experience into this discussion. This is our opinion, and
enough experience.
We have enough experience. I mean, not enough, but everybody has experience, but we bring our
life experience.
Exactly. So
people might
our
agree,
background.
People might agree, might disagree. We welcome anybody challenging what we say or have conversation.
So I myself I studied in Iran up until 7th grade, and when I came to the States, I went to school. I started 8th grade. I started 9th grade. I started second semester of 9th grade and graduated the first semester of 12th grade. But wow, when I came here, I was bored. In Iran, they put so much emphasis into the school system.
Or it used to be.
They still do. They still do because you know why? They teach. They don't mix social studies with their school system. They have different curriculum in the college system, but not K through 12. K through 12, it's all about math, literature, science, anything important that gets you ready for college. After you're done with high school, that's when you make a decision of how you want to proceed with your career, how you want to proceed in the future, if you want to be a social studies person, if you want to do history, if you want to become an engineer, this and that. But holy God, when I started doing algebra, I was bored. And I was already in like 9th grade, I started doing algebra. And oh my God, the school here is so easy, but they make it feel like it's very hard.
No, it's just to be fairness, on the fairness. So we grew up post-revolution. There are lots of same thing over here that they implement. The regime in Iran is Marxist theocracy. Is Marxist theocracy. And actually one of the founding organizations that helped the Ayatollahs to come to power, known here as MEK, Mujahideen Khalq, they were literally Marxist Islamist organization. To this day, Marxist Islamist organization. So they're rooted in Marxism. It's kind of like a bizarre, it's like Scientology. You know what I'm saying? So they're obviously they share a lot of things as far as wanting to control society with Islamists. They want to spread their own version of ideology and impose it. Now they're not looking for like open debate. If they have opportunity, they just impose it. And these groups, and then they allow them because they're very organized and they're funded by the Soviets, other Marxist countries. So after the revolution, so when we grew up, so that was a very ideological education system as well. You know what I'm saying? With the flag burnings and stuff, always that to America and all that garbage. So what
But
he's saying, I agree with part
that's
of it.
part of the propaganda part of
I
it.
agree with part of it, that school was tougher. Schools was tougher.
Teachers were tougher.
The teachers were tougher. School was tougher,
But one important thing was, sorry to cut you off. One important thing was we were told to respect our teachers, and our teachers were legitimately teaching the subject. They would not go off topic. They would teach the subject that they were assigned to teach, whatever it was: literature, math, science, anything. That was their topic to teach. That was what they teach. They never went off subject. We had classes for religion. We had religion classes. We had math classes and whatever. And the same teacher could be teaching two different classes. And one thing they never did was mix those two classes into one. They never brought the religion class into their math class, or they never took the math class into the religion class, which kind of doesn't make sense. But
right, no. My point was, even though it was ideological, but it was tougher on definitely science subjects and just the basic. They are definitely reading, writing, literature, all that very tough. By the time anybody finished high school, would be able to easily read a philosophy book, poetry, and everything else. I mean, literate. You know what I'm saying, in a sense. The reason for that was because they had a massive brain drain. That means post-revolution, a lot of people left the country. So they had to actually be tough on math and sciences so they can have basis of, as you see now, self-sustained engineering, other sciences and stuff, because they're not going to get it. Nobody was migrating into Iran to go and get a job over there, work as an engineer. So they had to be focused. So, okay, even though they're radical, but they're smart, right? So they focused on that. It's like Soviet Union had a great science program. The regime was sucked. People were hungry. People didn't and they didn't live a free life. But for those focused, all those resources would go toward their scientific program in order to advance their causes. So in a sense, the education was good in that sense. But over here, when I came, started the college, so I didn't speak much English. I tell everybody, with $50 and a bag of clothes, no family, nothing. So I started, soon after a few months, signed up for college and all that, and working 3 jobs. And so I started the English as a second language, right, to get to the point that I can actually take the college courses. And I was the only foreign student in the class. I initially assumed like that would be for foreign exchange students. So meaning the rest of the students were all graduated from high school here in the United States, but they were unable to read and write. Unable to read and write and comprehend. And these were not necessarily mentally handicapped people. You know what I'm saying? They were just, maybe a little bit more challenging. They had issues with learning challenges, some of them, but the rest of them were just normal. You talk to them just normal, but because there were no accountability, they just passed them grade to grade. So you have somebody actually attending college, graduated from high school over here. They couldn't literally, and at the end of the semester, I was A+ more than all of them. In those courses that I took to get to the college level, English 99, 100, 101, to get to the point that you can actually start taking the college courses.
You know why? Do you know why that was?
So that's a failure. That's a failure of the entire public education system.
Exactly. So when I came here, I also had to take ESL classes because I didn't speak a word of English. I didn't read. I didn't write English. But when we started in an area which was like very Hispanic heavy area. 90% of the people in my first high school were Hispanic. The rest were just like minorities, like including me. But when we sat down in our ESL class, my teacher spoke Spanish to the students. I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't speak English. And the teacher,
he was confused. He said, "What the heck is going on?"
But dude, like the teacher was supposed to teach us English, right? So they went through the course, ABC, this is how you create words. But if a student had issue or did not understand, what do? They start speaking Spanish to the student. So that by itself creates what? An easy way for that student to learn.
It was so confusing. The students were Spanish, the English spoke Spanish. He didn't speak none of them. He didn't speak English. He ended up learning Japanese. Just what the heck is going on here?
I mean, I remember in Iran they had Arabic classes because they encouraged you to take Arabic classes so you
For
could read the
religious
Quran.
purposes, yeah.
Right? So you have to read the Quran. You have to be able to read the Quran. But when we sat in an Arabic class, the teacher did not speak a word of Farsi with us. Everything was in Arabic. Everything was in Arabic. The from greeting until goodbye, he spoke Arabic. Now, in order for him to make us understand what the word means, he went through different type of expressions and examples. Have it be a picture or anything, like he would make us understand what that word means. So that basically that word gets burned into our brain to understand what it means. But here, they make it easier for people not to learn the language. They make it so much easier. Basically, now every department you call, press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish.
That's not an issue.
No, but it's making it easier for them. It's making it easier for them not to learn.
People are busy with their lives. Not everybody is interested in history like me, digging into learning about things, being here for, just around 2 decades and know a lot about the American Revolution or Civil War and stuff. Not everybody has. People have lives. They have different interests. They're not interested in learning things or they haven't been taught, So the reason I'm saying it is for most people, when you talk about Department of Education in this country, they think it's some old institution like U.S. Army since 1775. That is not true. Department of Education, nationalization of the education in this country happened in 1979, last year of Carter's administration.
Yep.
That and Office of Personnel Management. That opened the floodgate of a very left-leaning workforce into the government. And that's where you see, for example, in elections, the DC area, which is all mostly resided by people that they work in government, 93, 94, 95% working for Democrat Party. But they are not only Democrat, they're very left-leaning. You know what I'm saying? Ideologically. And they have infiltrated all the institutions of the government, right? Open the floodgate. You know what I'm saying? So when they say, for example, right now you want to get a government job, it requires a college degree. It doesn't tell you it requires a college degree. You have to be an engineer. You can be have a bachelor's degree in underwater basket weaving and get a government job, and you wouldn't be able to get a job as a bank accountant. You know what I'm saying? Or just any kind of like in a private business, because these are mostly a bunch of losers and bums. They wouldn't survive in real world. When we are talking about, we have lived in a really, really tough situations with nothing, came with nothing and just worked odd jobs and everything else. I have no fear of losing everything I have, right? Because I know I can make it again.
Funny thing is, I remember one day when I sent my kid to school on the first day, I told his teacher, please discipline him. Don't be afraid to discipline. My wife looked at me, she's like, you can't say that. You can't tell the teacher to discipline your child. In Iran till this day, we got discipline. We got discipline, but not to a point of abuse.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got discipline.
Some teachers were. I mean,
it
was different times. It
was different times. I don't say that any kid should go through that, but. From past experience, from previous kids, from previous information, they said, oh, this teacher is very tough. He will discipline you if you're out of line. And that discipline could have been anything. The guy could have not done anything, but the reputation was enough to say, hey, this teacher don't mess with him. Right. And that by itself put all the students in line, and every class has a kid that's not going to behave.
I want to look at it a little bit on macro level. So we talked about the history of it. Okay, Department of Education. Before that, every state had their own curriculums, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, even you see right now, Texas has a lot of influence on textbooks and stuff because it's one of the largest school systems in the country as a large state, right? Yeah. So Texas, California, they're pushing their own agenda. So every state had their own curriculum. They were printing their own books. Okay, so if the student is smart, if the state is doing a good job producing these students and as an adult raising them, right? Academically, we are just talking academically, not ideologically, nothing like that. And then they would make it to the university and let the best mind win. You know what I'm saying? You are not supposed. It's a competition. The life is competition. Just because I go to college doesn't mean I'm going to be Einstein coming out. There's going to be like a few people that they're going to be at that level. Then you're going to have a bunch of people lower level and stuff. Some people succeed in some academic areas. Other people succeed in different principles and different academic fields. But if you look at since the creation of nationalization of public education in 1979, the level of money spent on public education and on schools and students per capita, right, have gone exponentially while the education level has gone down, right? So you are seeing the direct correlation. And nobody's asking the problem like, okay, we have spent this money. First thing first, where this money goes to? Who is getting this money? All this like a public schools that they get the money, but they're doing an awful job. And they don't want competition, right? They don't want competition from private schools. And they don't want any kind of accountability on them.
All they do is just increase the budget. That's all they do. They just increase the budget. That's all
corruption,
they do.
And then they give them money, massive salaries. It's like literally, I mean, most of the public
like this
schools in this country, even in affluent areas, are not even in any kind of level to some other countries, or forget about some other countries, for example, with any kind of private charter or even religious schools, you know, because they have discipline, they have criteria, they take it tough and they focus, you know what I'm saying? They do more with their money, you know what I'm saying? So you're looking at the public and think about it. Per student, we are spending around $14,000 a year per K1, the first grade.
K to 12.
K to 12. So that money, they have no competition. Now, if you're coming and telling the parent, you are paying these taxes, or even if you live in a low income area that you are more challenged, right? You can take this 14,000 and you have a choice where to sign up your kids. You can sign them still with the public school, but the public school that does a better job. You need to create this competition, and that's what we grow up. There are public schools that they wouldn't take any students unless if you're the highest grades, they were not taking you. It's kind of like a public-private. So they're a public school but not fully public. You know, they were public-private. Or some could be a public school, but they were saying, no, if you're not a good student, we are not going to take you. You could be living next to them, and they wouldn't take you.
And that's the problem. Like in low income areas, and this is what they do.
Take you,
but that's the problem.
You know
but here's the problem. They don't
level up.
They don't. And here's where I said discipline is such an important topic when it comes out to schools. Is that, you know, everybody says, you know, all these kids in low income areas, you know, they're stuck there. They don't teach them. Well, because they don't teach the kids how to respect the teacher.
No, they're teaching them to hate this country. They're teaching the kids to hate themselves.
The teacher, they don't care. That's the problem. The teachers, they don't care. Some of them do, but most of them don't, because they're like, oh, you know, they're just not gonna pass. We'll just, you know, they just have to do enough just to pass.
No, public education right now is run absolutely on ideological agenda of the left.
It is 100% ideological 100%. At this point.
So let's say if somebody like us, we want to actually educate our kids, I have to actually pay taxes, and then on top of that, pay extra to put my kids in a private or religious school to get them more discipline and stuff. And actually, the school that we are sending, like my son, predominantly minorities. And these are a lot of them that you look at them. They're working class, but they care about their kids, that they're just literally cutting from their budgets. They're making ends meet, but they don't want to send their kids to the public school because they know you're raising your kid and go over there and they're going to poison their mind with garbage.
Yeah.
They're going to poison their mind, garbage about hating themselves because of their skin color, you know, hating their country, hating their founding fathers or history. You know, we are not saying everything is dandy, but a nation that hates itself cannot sustain.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And this the problem I have with this garbage self-hatred that they're promoting and brainwashing and poisoning. You know what I'm saying? The kids and in colleges and universities. You know what I'm saying? What they're doing is you don't hear a single liberal professor or public figure come and say bashing Chinese communist government for being racist because they are not accepting unrestricted immigration. Show me one. Doesn't exist.
They won't.
Or show me anybody saying, oh, you're Chinese and you're not allowing minorities. They're literally in concentration camp right now. Millions of people in concentration camp because they're a minority group with different religion.
The Muslim group.
And different Muslim group and different customs and traditions.
What are they called?
Uyghurs, northwest in a mountainous area. They're literally in concentration camp. Where are this outrage? Where are all this supposedly left-leaning media or public figures?
Why they denounce China? Why can't they say China? You're racist. You're racist
because
for doing this.
They are the same.
They can't.
This is
money
their
talks,
plan.
bullshit walks.
This is their plan to poison the youth. This is a systematic. They have been doing this. If we talked about it, if you look at the goals of communists to destroy this country from within, 14 goals of communists, it's like 2 pages added to the records of the Congress in 1963, but it's based on a book that was with the FBI agent that was infiltrating at the time. All this like a communist infiltration in US and stuff. The book Naked Communist in 1950s, and his investigation was in 1940s and 50s, and they're exactly doing that. So self-hatred. This is the ideology of self-hatred, lack of confidence, and lack of respect to your parents. You know what I'm saying? They are putting the wedge. You go to a school, you send your kids to a school right now, public education, they literally, especially in middle school and high school, saying to don't listen to your parents.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
they do that.
And then you have raising your kids since birth, all that time and effort that you put in, and then when they poison them, right? And because they're at the rebellious age, you know what I'm saying? Then it's very difficult to convince them that it's otherwise because those are all friends. Usually at that age, they know it. I mean, these are all
planned. And
right?
this is the plan. This is the issue of ideology. Ideology. It's all ideology.
And anybody who controls the education system, they're going to control society.
Exactly.
And that's what you're seeing the society.
And we had a segment talking about propaganda and how ideology works. Now, also going back to Iran, Iran's ideology is self-sustaining environment, which means creating
for the
regime. But it at the same time it creates a very smart environment, very educated environment. Iran has the highest number of college graduates with masters but jobless. Okay, a lot of people in Iran have master's degree, but they are jobless. They're drivers. They're,
But the challenge that to be, we have it over here too.
I understand. But I'm talking about as a very secluded.
Degree doesn't mean anything.
But no. But listen to the difference.
No.
The difference is, here's the difference. The difference is the society of its own. Iran is a very secluded society. It does not have any outside interference. Okay, Iran is very secluded. So in order, as you said, in order for them to self-sustain, they created a system so they could have educated individuals.
They're smart people. They learn the same scam from the Western countries.
Exactly.
Okay, let's just put it this
way. Well, hold on.
They learned it from the West.
The point is
worthless degrees.
Worthless degrees.
Right?
Exactly.
They get people's
right now. If you have a master's degree, it's like having a high school
diploma. They get people's hard-earned money. You know what I'm saying? If somebody 40 years ago they had a bachelor's degree, meant something because it was truly education. That means somebody learned about critical thinking. They went to the environment that their ideas were challenged.
I was getting
now
there.
You go to
what I'm saying is
now you go to universities and they have safe space that you don't even have to deal with anybody challenging you. You know, your parents. So I feel bad and stuff.
So,
I mean, this is not the education. That's total
So what I was trying to say is, in Iran, what happened was with all this higher education, a lot of people, a lot of students started questioning religion. They started questioning God. They started becoming a little bit more open-minded. And what did the regime do? They shut it down. Any curriculum that started that created this type of thinking, they shut it down. They banned it. No more. If a
no more bacon.
No more bacon. If a curriculum started creating an environment for the student to ask, who is God, who is Muhammad,
Social,
who is this,
social
who is
studies,
that.
humanity.
Social studies shut down. We don't need to go down that route. We're gonna keep our culture. We're gonna keep this. Just do what you need to. Don't ask questions.
Humanity is like Islamic humanity. Math, Islamic math. Physics,
Islamic physics. So, and it's the opposite here, unfortunately.
If you have kids and family, it's very important. Obviously, it's very important. Life is challenging. Not everybody is blessed to have a decent job.
I lived in a bubble for most of my life when I
admire Asian families, like Indian families. Very dedicated.
And that's the thing. There is such a big gap. Asian students are always touted as the smartest students. Always.
They're not the smartest. They're just families.
But they mix. But no. But here's the thing. They mix. This is how they categorize them as the smartest. But what they don't put into that category is the fact that they are disciplined. Okay. Asian students, mostly Asian students, they come from families who the expectation of that student, of that child, is to be a higher educated individual, a doctor, engineer, lawyer, whatever. It's an expectation.
No, the biggest reason for that is, let's be blunt, they have much lower divorce rate than general public. So that means the kids are raised in families with mom and dad. They have father figure. We have talked about that. But
I don't disagree with that.
Black America and all that absence of fathers and stuff.
I understand that
because you're not going. I don't go to a school over there just a single mom like a Chinese lady just bringing the kids into school. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I don't see that.
That wasn't my point. That wasn't my point.
They're very strong on family bonds, and I'm not saying they don't have divorce and stuff.
Expectation
but
was
usually
a
they
key.
have very strong. They have much less than at least the people that I'm engaged with usually, and that's a good thing about being engaged with kind of like a religious or faith-based organizations around you. If you're married, if you have kids, it's good to be engaged with that. Because it's a good environment, even if you are a person of no faith. It's a good environment for the kids and family to be bonded together, and they have some moral guidance, right and wrong.
And that's the thing, having faith is not poison.
Some discipline, right? Some discipline, even if you don't, those are actually much more constructive, much more positive for the development of child, in my opinion, than, let's say, the public education. The public education, I would not, under any circumstances, I would homeschool my kids. I will not send them to public education. That's my opinion. Because I just don't want to raise my kids and then end up seeing them lose their mind and be poisoned with garbage ideology, And I would love my kids to have critical thinking and think for their own, do their own research and have their own ideas. We want people to have their own ideas. We don't want them to be indoctrinated. That's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, be a free thinker.
Be a free thinker. Have your own ideas. Do your own research. Disagree is all fine. But that teaches you to reason, to engage, to persuade, and that's a much more positive society. We came from a society that was literally is like a black and white society. Full oppression, full fear, full
government
control and tyranny. We don't want that.
That's
and
all
you're not going to get that in a society that everybody are indoctrinated to think one certain way. Because if everybody's thinking the same way, nobody's thinking. You know what I'm saying? You want as diverse as point of views as possible, because that's actually kind of decentralizes the ideas. You know what I'm saying? Decentralize. You don't want anybody to have coercion and kind of
And here's another thing. Like when I moved to this country, I didn't know anything about the laws, the system, the school system, anything like that. The experience came, over the span of time that I lived here, and I moved, and I moved for work, I moved for this, I moved for that. But the issue here is we have a lot of people pass judgment on parents who themselves are not parents. They don't have kids. They
Right.
they just think, just because the way they feel, parents should do the same thing, or parents should follow these type of curriculums. And I think giving power to these individuals who think they know better.
And they have no kids.
They have no kids. They don't know.
That's
the
a
first,
very good point. That's a very good point.
They don't know. They don't know the first thing about raising kids. They don't know the first thing of how children react around parents, how children react around strangers, and how a child's brain is molded. Even some psychiatrists or kid therapists or whatever. Not all of them have kids. They just study. They read books. They have no real life experience. They just read books and talk to their mentor and this and that.
That's why they want to indoctrinate people's
children,
because they don't have a lot of them. If you look at people living in big cities, right? Where are the centers for the left ideology? You go left, center left, mid left, and then far left, right? The more far left they are, they're more likely to not have kids. You know what I'm saying? Because then they have I truly believe that people that they usually come up with that kind of ideology, either they're brainwashed through propaganda and this garbage education system, or they just have no real life experience. We were talked about it. If you are using your hands for living, you're outside, you're actually doing things, then rather than just being on a screen or reading something, classroom environment. And that's why you see this professors and stuff. Okay, that professor, you give them a screwdriver, they're going to look at it, what am I going to do with this? And they're going to jab themselves in the eye. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to, they are not living in a real life. They wouldn't be able to maintain society. They usually live in an imaginary world in their classrooms or the bubbles and stuff. They talk, right? But it's not the real world. The real world is a guy who is just working on my house, going on a roof. You know what I'm saying? I would like to see a gender study professor just put them on roof middle of July to see how they feel. They're going to have a different perspective on life. Seriously. They're going to have different perspectives. These are the people that they're pampered. They're in a closed environment. They're not open-minded necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're open-minded, then they wouldn't be trying to coerce everybody else to their way of thinking, right? They're not. I mean... and they don't have kids. They don't have kids, or they don't make as many kids. So they have to indoctrinate other
exactly.
But
that's the thing. That's their ideology. They're like, one kid is enough. That's it. And one kid should be enough. I mean, sure. If that's all you can, that's all. If you can have, if you can only have one child, fine. If you don't want to have any more kids, fine.
If you don't want to have kids, that's fine too.
That's fine too, but
don't try to indoctrinate other people's kids as a parent.
Keep your ideology to yourself. Don't try to indoctrinate other people into your own ideology. This is the problem. When you express your ideology as an opinion, you just state your opinion. Okay. I don't sit here and tell you this is how you should think, this is how you should eat, this is how you should dress, this is how you're supposed to do this. No, I don't do that. The government does at this point. The media is doing that to you. All these fashion shows, what do? This is how they play with your head. The latest fashion is the Gucci bag. The latest fashion is the whatever flip-flops. The latest fashion is the iPhone 15. So this is how
they're extending the adolescence to your retirement.
Exactly.
Literally, because
they want to keep you broke as long as possible. But
dependent, mentally.
Now for a while the latest fashion was tiny homes. Efficient.
And then it was funny because it was showing somebody's just making tiny homes like $100,000.
Do you realize tiny home existed for a long time? They used to call them trailers.
Now it's hip.
Yeah. Did you know? Did you know unisex bathroom used to exist, meaning men, women, and everybody else? That used to be called porta potties. Everybody used them. It wasn't gender specific.
Right.
Everybody used porta potties and spin around. This is not a new thing, okay? But how do they
They're
change?
good with language, you know, just
Exactly.
a word and reason words, word salad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for people, this is how they trick you. This is how, you know, they manipulate your mind. Right. Now, tiny home, it's the new thing. Well, heck, all these people use RVs. They used to the fifth wheel or the pull trailers. You know, they all had bathrooms. They all had little small kitchens.
But those people are to be hated. Those are trailer trash. The tiny homes, those are classic.
Yeah, they're modern. You know, I'm sorry, they use you know, they put like vinyl siding. They get the solar panels, but still sat on freaking 2 axles.
Right.
But who knows? You know, porta potties. You know. You know, they're not gender specific. Everybody can use them.
If you get family, if you get kids, recommendation is a growing homeschool. I mean, this COVID thing actually showed a lot of people started homeschooling. It wasn't, you know.
It's tough, man. It's not easy. Homeschool is not easy.
I'm not saying it is. But I'm saying people, it's not like you are teaching your own kid. A lot of people are educated, right?
I don't like it,
especially for the things. And then they network. Obviously, they need to be compensated, right? Because if you're paying taxes and the schools are closed and not teaching your kids well on top of it, then you need to get compensation for that.
I want that money back.
Right?
I'm not paying for the facility.
Crappy food and you get sick, you're going to go over the complaint and they're going to say, "Oh, please, get your money back," or something like that.
I'm definitely thinking about sending my kids to private school.
Private school, yeah.
And for people who want to send their
and they're not that expensive. Like obviously
they have
money that you pay,
you pay some extra money, but they do have financial aid. You could talk to them and see how you could get some financial aid to do that. But thanks for watching, guys. Please share, subscribe, hit the bell button. God bless America. Be a free thinker. Try to, you know, if you have kids, teach them about respect. Teach them about being humble, being respectful to everybody. Teach them to study and read and do their own research. Get them active.
Especially outside.
Outside. I mean,
real life.
Where we live is very cold, and so outside activity is kind of limited. But
great.
Yeah, but you still can do it. God bless you.
Thanks for listening and watching.
Thank you for watching. Please share, subscribe, and hit the bell button.
God bless.
God bless.